It is the Alabama edition of Mark Rogers TV, following, of course, a national championship game classic. 35-31. The Tide needed one less second on the clock to close it out, but could not get the job done on the final play, of course, against the Tigers. We bring in Stephen F. Smith of Touchdown Alabama in the post-mortem of sorts. So, Stephen, I'm sure you have heard just about everything out there in regards to the fan base's reaction. I'm sure there's some level-headed people out there that understand that Nick Saban is still bringing in five-star recruits. Everything's fine. You can't win them all. You win 25 straight or whatever the figure was, and then you lose a game. Then you may win another 15 in a row. Who knows? That everything's fine. The process, the program's in place, everything's good, but everybody is susceptible at some point. So, but it's those other people maybe that you've had to kind of talk off the ledge.
It's more than just some, Mark. It's almost a good, 30% of the fan base. And 30% is still a pretty small portion of the pie that you have to convince, hey, don't do anything hasty. I mean, this was a competitive game. You got to give a lot of credit to Dabo Swinney, Deshaun Watson, Brent Venables, and that Clemson football team. You go back to the first half, Alabama's defense got after Deshaun Watson. They hit him. They helicoptered him. They helicoptered him in the air. They rattled him. He did not seem as sharp as he was in prior games in the first half against Alabama. But all great warriors in college football, Mark, they find a way to win. Deshaun Watson in the second half got it going in the passing game, and it's very huge that all receivers were healthy this time around. You go back to last year's title game, Deion Kane was suspended, could not play. Mike Williams, a fractured neck, week one of the season, did not play. Despite the heroics of Hunter Renfrow, the former walk-on, Artavis Scott, Sharon Peak, of course, Jordan Leggett, all playing well, Clemson was not fully healthy a year ago. Now, with Deion Kane playing, with Mike Williams healthy, you add in Hunter Renfrow again, who's just a crafty receiver, Artavis Scott, Ray McLeod, all of these guys dangerous. Deshaun Watson was spraying the ball around the field, Mark.
Yeah, and Mike Williams definitely looks the part of an elite receiver for a top team. Both he and Kane caught just short of 100 yards against Alabama. That defense was on the field 99 plays. That obviously played into it as well.
It did. And that goes back to the offense not being able to sustain drives, Mark. When you're going 3 and out, 7 of your 17 possessions, that's about 41.2%. Third down, you're only 2 of 15. It's very difficult for your defense to get some energy.
Stephen, no slight to Jalen Hurts, but I'm just trying to magnify the impact and the playmaking ability and the poise and the leadership of Deshaun Watson, as you alluded to off the top. Switch quarterbacks for a second. Imagine Alabama with Deshaun Watson in that game, Jalen Hurts playing for Clemson. It's probably a 3 or 4 score game. That's the difference at this point in Jalen Hurts' progression. So your thoughts about a 13 for 31 performance. Jake Coker not given a whole lot of credit for last year's national championship, but he didn't hit on a whole lot of plays, but he hit for big gainers, didn't make mistakes, was efficient, 335 yards. So we saw a difference in quarterback play, and that proved costly as well.
It did. You go back to last year, Jake Coker, this was 6'5", 240 pounds, a big-time arm. An arm that was so big-time that it had its own Twitter account, Coker Deep Ball. When your arm is that big-time, that it's got its own social media presence, you know it's big-time. So, Coker had the arm talent. Jalen Hurts in this game, I think the strategy was play not to lose instead of play to win. Steve Sarkisian drawing up a lot of, let's just play behind our defense instead of having Jalen Hurts step into the throw. Jalen Hurts was not able to step into the throw. There were plays where Ardarius Stewart was open by 1 or 2 inches. Calvin Ridley, Garrett Dieter, they weren't blatantly open, but they had a couple of inches on these guys. And if Hurts confidently steps into the throw, we have some completions. Alabama's got some big-time plays, but because he was not able to step into the throw and seemed rattled a lot from time to time, that was the biggest issue, not having that big-time arm, but more so not having the confidence to step up and get the ball out of your hands when you see your guys open downfield.
Stephen M. Smith from Touchdown Alabama joining us. Damien Harris had a 1,000-yard season. Bo Scarborough taking charge late in the season, obviously run roughshod over Washington, got off to a great start before he got injured and knocked out of the game. Damien Harris, it just seems like, I know he's a fine back. There just seems to be a difference there. Is that am I just seeing things? Because these guys were both brought up in as top recruits, were both kind of emerged in Derrick Henry's place, shared the job. So they've split carries for the most part until really late here in the season. And it just seems like Bama lost a ton when Scarborough got knocked out of the game.
Damien Harris is more so that complete back. He can run the football, that we know. He can catch out of the backfield. He can pass block. He's like that baseball player, that five-tool guy that can hit, that can catch, that can field, that can slide, that can do some of everything. That's Damien Harris. Where Bo Scarborough comes in, size-wise, he's just that big bruiser that falls forward, that gets yards after contact, and when he is healthy, he's a tough animal to stop. And Alabama kind of used Scarborough as the closer late in ball games where when a defense was worn down, when they were beaten down, when they were battered and bruised, they put Scarborough in to ground and pound and finish off the job. It's not the fact that Scarborough is overall better than Damien Harris. It's the fact that Scarborough presents that with the size. He reminds you of Derrick Henry, so that way you think he's the second coming to Derrick Henry, though Scarborough wants to be known for just being his own guy. As for Damien Harris, he does a little bit of everything. He runs the ball, he pass blocks, he catches the ball out of the backfield. But down the stretch, when Scarborough started to get healthy, Saban really wanted to see what he had in number 9 coming from Tuscaloosa. And with the healthy Scarborough, Saban knows, I got something special here.